Welcome back to JoshuaTree. On this episode, we're going to be working on an 06 F250 with a 6.0 Powerstroke. We're going to be installing new glow plugs, some upper intake tubes, and the Wicked Wheel Turbo from Thoroughbreddiesel. Let's get going. Okay, so the tools that we'll need for this are a pair of channel locks, an 8mm wrench, a 10mm wrench, a 7/16, a 3/4, a small stubby screwdriver, a small screwdriver or a pick for the O-rings, a 3/8 ratchet, a 10mm socket, an 8mm socket, and a 7/16, and some extensions and an impact if you have it. And lots of paper towels. Lots of these. Alright, so the very first thing you want to do is remove the negative terminal from both batteries. This one has one on either side, so we're going to do that. We have an 8mm wrench to do that. Alright, so that's the driver's side. Alright, and so that is the passenger side. Alright, next, so now we're going to go ahead and start pulling all these tubes and hoses off of this old turbo. But first we need to go and get this out of the way. There's usually little clips in here, but these are all broken. So I'm just going to bungee this up. Bungee that out of the way. And then we're going to go and start pulling these out. Go ahead and remove that wire. Alright, now that we have the turbo taken off, we're going to go ahead and compare the two. The reason I am swapping the turbo in the first place is at idle, when you're cruising down the road, it was just fine. But at idle, when you came to a stop, it would start to get a little hazy, and then when you took off, it would build a smoke. So I took the air intake off and determined that it has quite a bit of shaft play. I don't know if you can hear it, but that's definitely not a good thing. And then I found oil in the intake tubes, so that's a clear sign that it was leaking oil into the intake and smoking at idle. So we're going to go ahead and upgrade it from the Wicked Wheel Turbo from Thoroughbred Diesel. This video is not sponsored by Thoroughbred Diesel. For almost the same price as a remanufactured stock turbo, you get a brand new unit with an upgraded Thoroughbred Diesel Wicked Wheel. We'll see if it makes a difference. It's supposed to spool faster and all kinds of stuff. So you get a 2-year warranty, and it's relatively inexpensive compared to a new turbo. So it looks like all we're going to have to do is now go ahead and pull off all of our little packaging materials and swap over this heat shield. We're going to swap this heat shield over to this one. So let's see. Alright. Hot. There are 3 8mm bolts. Replace the old O-rings from the oil drain back tube with the new ones supplied by Thoroughbred Diesel. And we're also going to replace the O-ring on the oil feed line with the one from Thoroughbred Diesel. Alright, and before we install this, we want to put a generous amount of oil on all of our O-rings so they'll slide in nice and not bind or crimp. And also, do not forget the gasket for the oil inlet tube. Alright, with the O-rings replaced, we're ready to go ahead and reinstall our turbo and get this thing going. Alright, with the O-ring lubed up really well, you want to slide it back into the little hole, into the high pressure oil pump cover, right where you took it out of. Alright, make sure it's installed just like that, standing straight up. We want to go ahead and reinstall the turbo on top of that oil thing, and we want it to sit on there just right, or else it'll have a huge oil leak. Alright, now that we got the turbo in place, I like to go and get all the clamps on, start the bolts, get everything situated, and make sure everything's lined out before we tighten anything down. Put our oil feed line in with the gasket. Make sure the oil feed line plate is clean on both sides. Alright, now put the oil feed line in and make sure that it's nice and soaked full of oil. Look, that's again. Alright, now that we have everything in line and everything in place where we want it, we're going to go ahead and start tightening down all the bolts. Alright, now that we got everything tightened down, we've double checked everything. We got our oil feed line tightened, we got our exhaust and our intake exhaust. Alright, we got both of our exhausts tightened down, we got our mounting bolts tightened down, and we've gone through and double checked everything. Now we're going to go ahead and reinstall our new intake tube. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and reinstall our air intake tube, and this needs to go inside the breather that goes into the valve cover. Alright, as far as the turbo installation, that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple, takes relatively low amount of time and very few tools. We're going to go ahead and change the oil and hook up the batteries back up and fire it up and see what she does. Alright, so we did the oil change. We went ahead and already hooked up our batteries. Now, before we start it, I'm going to go ahead and come over here and pull this little wire out. This is the starter wire. It runs down to the starter, and we're going to go ahead and just crank the engine over. Make sure the key is in off and in park. We're going to go ahead and bridge this to the positive terminal. Alright, that should be enough. Now we'll go ahead and plug it back in. Alright, so we pre-primed the oil system and went ahead and double checked all of our hose clamps and everything like that. Went over everything and double checked it. Now let's go ahead and fire it up and see what it does. Alright guys, so I was able to take it around the block. It seems to drive nice. It's definitely better than the old turbo, and it doesn't smoke anymore. I highly recommend these. They seem to be great for the price especially. It's slightly better than stock, supposedly. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you liked what you saw. We got much more videos coming out on this truck. We're going to be building a complete custom front end, along with building racks and building this all out for overlanding. It's going to be a great build series on this, along with a bunch of other stuff coming up. Thanks for watching. Check us out at JoshuaTree Adventure Builders, and see you next time.